Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 127, recording on Sunday, November 13th, 2022. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And Ragnarok is here. The video game world is abuzz. Discord servers are losing it. Everyone on Earth is playing God of War Ragnarok. And
it's true. Every single person on Earth.
It's all we want to talk about. So basically, I think all we'll be doing is getting into our initial impressions of God of War Ragnarok. We will be staying story spoiler free, potentially not gameplay spoiler free. So I will be highlighting some things I like that might be mild gameplay spoilers, but I don't think it's anything too egregious. So that's the plan. In terms of where we're at, I'm about 15 to 20 hours in on a paced out playthrough. I'm doing lots of side quests. I'm not rushing through the story. How about you guys?
I am 8 hours about.
8 hours? Now, you took a day off. Did you use the whole day off in Ragnarok?
I mean, I don't know if I would say the whole day was used, but yeah, I got a pretty good chunk of time in.
And I am 2.5 hours in, and not making much progress, I don't think.
Well, that's
but enjoying it.
2.5 hours, that's decent.
Yep.
That's a decent chunk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, since you're kind of the first 2.5 hours and you probably played it today, why don't you lead us off here?
Well, I did not play it today, but I have played it yesterday, so kind of close. My initial impressions are the gameplay feels very much like the old game. I haven't really hit anything new or groundbreaking in the gameplay department. That's not a bad thing, because the first game had amazing gameplay. This game has all the same stuff. I still love finding the things kind of hidden up in trees that you could hit down with your axe. I still love opening those chests with the runes that you have to find, the little puzzles. I appreciate the level layouts currently. They seem to have this kind of loop where, this may change later on, but basically there's kind of a linear path, and along the linear path there's little like circle offshoots. So you kind of duck in one of those, circle around it, come right back to where you started, and then continue up. And I actually appreciate that. It's kind of a nice way to do it. You know that's off the path, you know it's optional, and you're just kind of looking for extra treasure. And yeah, I really like still the banter between Atreus and also the head guy who I can't remember the name of, but
Mimir.
Mimir. All those little like jokes they tell and stuff, I still like. I think I don't know yet if this game does the companion sort of like helper thing the best. But I am appreciating it. I feel sometimes that Atreus kind of gives away the puzzle a little too soon than I'm ready to.
While you're saying that, just in general, the side characters are chiming in with hints way too fast.
Okay.
And calling out stuff in the environment that I haven't even seen myself yet. Like I get into a new area and I'm like just getting the camera, getting my bearings, and they're like saying, "Oh, did you see that over there?" I'm like,
"Yes."
Whoa, chill. On here. Let me find it for myself a little bit. So there are settings in the menu for like how quickly there's hints, and I have mine turned off. I double checked that they were like later or like not telling you very quickly, and I'm still getting hints way too fast. So I'm with you 100% on it.
Okay, that's good, because I didn't even know there was that option. I might look at mine, because I was finding the same thing. I'd be like standing on a platform I just got up to, and I'm starting to just kind of pan the camera around, and all of a sudden I'm being told what I need to do next. I'm like, okay, well, I probably could have figured that out if I got to look around for 5 seconds, kind of thing. But yeah, I guess that's probably a good. I mean, I think it looks incredible. I think I mentioned to you guys, like, the character models are absolutely insane.
Except for one. There's one that is I was kind of shocked at how bad it is.
Would I have seen it already?
I think so. It's very early.
Okay,
it's a character we know of in a flashback, so I'm just going to say Faye, the wife of Kratos. I thought that character was pretty bad, especially the hair.
Okay, yeah. That did stand out. Just for context, though, without really any spoilers, I just got to the point where the game kind of opens up. You're on the boat, and it says, if you want to continue the story, go left. If you want to explore, go right, basically. So I started going right, and I started exploring around a little bit, and that's where I am in the game.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, like it's very similar to the last game. I think I have not seen a ton of new stuff as of yet. I do think that I'm enjoying the story, and you know, I think we were talking before the show or via text that some of the cutscenes, there is some longer ones, particularly at the beginning, not Gotham Knights level, but there's some longer ones. But I was okay with it. Because I do enjoy the characters and I like the story. Although I didn't watch the recap, and I probably should have, because I don't remember anything from the last game. So there's things that are being called back to that I'm like, I don't know. Okay, sure.
You can still watch it. Even when you start the game, the recap's still there. Give it a little.
Yeah, I think I might. But yeah, the hint thing's interesting. Like, I agree. I had the same reaction that some stuff was being triggered way too early, but there was also some stuff where I really could have used a hint, where I'm wandering around for a while, and you know, it's kind of like in this, like, I know somebody said something about where I'm supposed to go, but I can't remember because I just came back to it or something, and nobody's telling me anything, and I'm just wandering around aimlessly. I'm like, okay, maybe you say something now, but
well, it's weird. You don't get the compass until later, which is a little strange because you have it at the end of the first game. And the time when I got the compass, it came just after the first time I really needed it, where I was kind of lost, and then I got the compass. So that was the only time in the entire game that I've played that I didn't really know what to do. I think it's actually hitting a nice sweet spot of difficulty and pace.
One other thing I just thought of about the kind of like hints is that I was finding the combat hints when you first start attacking, and they kind of just flash like a text block on the side of the screen. Those were going away way too quickly, and I'm like in the middle of combat, so I'm not even looking there, and I don't even know what they say, and I don't know how to find them afterwards. So there is a little bit of the tutorialization balancing that could be improved, but yeah, just another thing I wanted to chime in on before we got off the topic of the tutorialization stuff.
Look, I know it's Fimbulwinter in the game, but even so, everyone needs to chill. The game needs to chill. Huck needs to chill. Relax. Enjoy this game. Let's say I'm playing the PS4 version on PS5, getting that auto pop ready to go. And it is playing fantastic. Absolutely.
I mean,
fantastic.
how can you comment on the visuals in this game when you're just playing the PS4 version?
It still looks incredible. I guarantee you it's not that different.
I don't know, man. I don't get it.
So are you going to play the whole thing, the PS5 version, to properly appreciate this masterpiece? Or are you just a giant trophy whore and don't even care what the game looks like at all? You don't want to see it in all its glory. You just want the trophies.
I'll see it in all its glory when I play it on PC when it eventually gets released on that, like I'm doing with original God of War right now. I'll be popping on both of these, and I don't know what the actual technical breakdown or SKU comparisons are right now, but Elden Ring played best with the PS4 version on a PS5. So I'm okay. I see no major problems with what I'm doing. I haven't had a technical hiccup yet, and it's playing wonderfully. So if it wasn't, I would have switched, but it has been great for me so far, and still looks fantastic.
I mean, the one thing I would say, though, like talking about Elden Ring versus like this, or even maybe Horizon, like the Sony games from Sony developers. Like, I feel like if anybody's going to exploit the PS5 to its full potential, it's going to be them. And I mean, I can't comment on PS4 versus PS5, but there's some pretty, like, just lighting stuff was really impressing me. Like, the detail on things like walls, like inside the mine, like when you're looking at like the textures and stuff there, like, it was pretty crazy. I don't know if I'm
fucking textures, man, are blowing my mind, man.
I don't know if I was misremembering
on PS4 too.
I mean, I don't know if I'm misremembering how good the last game looked. And I mean, I haven't played the 2018 game on PS5, so I don't know if it looks better. I assume there's some kind of upgrade there, but yeah, I mean, there's some pretty impressive stuff, I think, in this game. And I saw some folks on our Discord just kind of talking about that it didn't look that amazing to them, or that, I guess, compared to the last game anyway, it wasn't a huge step up. But I in my mind, it is a big step up. But I guess
I don't think it's that big of a step up in terms of technical prowess. But why I love this game from a visual standpoint is visual pacing is absolutely insanely good. So I've been to like 4 or 5 realms. Everyone has a completely unique look, color palette, interesting ideas. There are 2 uses of like extreme color, let's say, like rainbow ideas. One in the textures in a particular realm that blew my mind. And then the next place I went pushed it even further with something a character does or uses as a power that looks exceptional. So I guess my thoughts and what I've heard and what you guys are saying, I agree that why I like this, or what they've done with this game versus Forbidden West, is they didn't change a lot. The core gameplay elements are basically the same. And they approach sequel design in the way I like, which is rather than reinventing major systems, keep the base systems the same. And what this game is doing, I don't know if you guys really aren't there yet, it starts swapping out an idea for like a replacement idea, or playing with the dynamics of characters, who you're playing as, and that's where the variety is coming through. And also through, I appreciate this story a lot more, and every character, they've really improved on introducing new characters. There are 2 characters, one semi-major and one just a side character. This is a shop owner with a pet octopus. Also, another creature, just creature design in general. It's introducing new fantastic beasts and like animal type characters. That is right in my wheelhouse. So a side quest related to that stuff as well are my favorite part of the game. 2 creature side quests that are like blew my mind. I did not really see them coming, and they were super fun. So
is there a greater sage grouse character, or
I wouldn't be surprised at that point. Or something inspired by a greater sage grouse is definitely in the realm of possibility. But believe me, when you see some of these beasts I'm talking of, you will appreciate them. Probably not at the same level as me, but pretty fucking close. So get ready for that. If you like, I guess, visually inspired, it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy, in particular Volume 2, and how they would get into like rainbow RGB kind of like extreme uses of color, which I really like. So I love the color palette of this game. And I guess in terms of criticisms, very mild for me at this point. One, the first mission is almost a reskin of the first game. Like you're in is it Midgar? No, that's
Midgard?
Final Fantasy VII, Midgard. And you kind of go through this cycle and have a major boss fight that is almost identical to the first game. Not that that's bad. I'm just like, was kind of seeing through like, oh, let's do what worked. in the first. And then from that point on, I feel like it really starts to mix up narrative structure and who and how you're playing as or with. So it's hitting my sweet spots. When games do stuff like that, I really appreciate it. So the other mild criticism for me, menus are still ass. The equipment menu, and they even that was the only thing they did fuck with, and they made it worse by having like the left and right D-pad for it going in and out of menus. It was already bad. Unless you have a revelation, you're losing trilogy cred or potential trilogy. Like, it's so amazing that they could use basically the same models from the previous game in this. The continuity, something I appreciate in movies and in games, was perfect. And then they just broke it. They broke it with the menus. And I feel like it is a missed opportunity. I would like a menu option for legacy menus. Because the map, while better, is similar to the previous one. It's a little more understandable in terms of where you are, closer to one-to-one, where in the last game I was not sure how to backtrack and go places. They fixed some of that stuff, at least so far for me. So I'm loving the new characters, loving the pacing. I agree with some criticisms I've seen in the Discord where a couple of sections dragged a bit. Just a little too much, but there were a lot of new ideas there, and all of those sections. Oh, last thing, the boss fights and frequency of enemies is so much better. The fact that they're reusing enemies from the first game, to me, all of the development has been going to adding to that. So taking all those, having a pool of enemies to work with, and now adding more and more and more. I'm never facing the same enemies for extended periods of time, and each one has something different about it. And sub-bosses, mini-bosses, full-on bosses are happening all the time, and they are all fantastic. Like there's a couple bosses that really impressed me, like more than I'm trying to think of any recent game with bosses. Like Elden Ring is close, but these are a little more, like designed, phased bosses rather than a lot of the Elden Rings are in open areas, and I like the kind of half stationary bosses and that approach to boss design. So that stuff has been exceptional. I'm basically loving the game. There's very little I'm not liking, and I want to keep playing. I have finally hit my first weak area in the game in terms of level design. For those who are playing, it's a portion with dangerous plants. And these dangerous plants pose like kind of passive challenges in the environment, and they're not used in creative ways, really. It's actually like feels like really weak design in an area that it would have been close to being cut if not for story requirements. So that's the first weakness I've seen in the game so far, but it's really not that bad compared to other games. It's more just compared to other things I've done in the game already. So I am positively loving everything about God of War Ragnarok. My expectations were high, and I am hard to please, and it is exceeding all expectations.
I must say, like, you were talking about how they're reusing things from the previous game and whatnot, and I think all those are conscious decisions and things I appreciate. I liked that you kind of start off in a familiar area and then you branch out to somewhere new. I also like that the whatever the like little travel area is, the like basically the loading screen where you run around in that loop until the doorway appears.
Yeah. Yep.
I like how they literally just reuse that straight up. Like, why change it? There's nothing wrong with this thing. Some games...
They did change one thing related to that, though, with the realm travel, which they've... I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, I'm with you that I like the continuity, and I wish they would have kept it the same, but it was the longest part of the game. Like, switching those realms was kind of cumbersome, and they've basically sped that up, and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
But yeah, you also mentioned how the menus are horrible. I still am confused by their sorting. You like get all these different types of things you can equip onto your primary weapons, and you can sort them, but it never really like describes what each of the icons means. So I don't even know what I'm sorting by. And there's like, what, 8 or 6 like different things you can sort by. And I'm like, I don't know. At first I thought they were all different things because they all like kind of shuffle around. I was like, wow, I got so many items already. And then I finally realized, wait a second, no, this is just all the same shit, just reordered every time. And doesn't make any sense. So it's really confusing. There's like a lot of buttons pressed. And then I was like, I think it was this game. I can't remember now. I was getting confused. But there was like things I was picking up. And then it would like tell me like, this is something you should remember. And then I was trying to find out what this was in the menus. And I could not find it.
I did find that with there's sort of like inventory items that are like quest items or something, and I also was trying to find them, and I don't think they're in there.
There's a resources page in the menu, which is pretty useless. I think if I could isolate the worst thing about the God of War menus, crafting, equipment, which I didn't like in the first one, I still don't like. It is the gated economies of this game where like only certain resources can be used to upgrade certain things. And I'm relearning these names. I have no definition or meaning for what they're for. And it's just ways of like, you know, certain named things can only be used to level up something from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. And it's not the same thing. And it's a way of gating you from overpowering a particular item too early. And like that is a confusing economy system, and it's like it should be unified. You know, Horizon Zero Dawn did that, and it broke it to some degree. Like you could get really good equipment early, but I would favor the player in that situation. Like, why are you or scale enemies in a different way? Figure out something like this. The economies in this game are so annoying. It is a definite barrier to entry and a huge design flaw.
Well, I mean, RPGs have been doing this for years. You just have shops later in the game sell the better items.
But they all use Gil in Final Fantasy, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's not confusing. It's not confusing. And they still achieve the same goal of gating the player.
Yes.
But Frank, so you're talking about like, you know, upgrading certain levels of a weapon or some armor. Like one level you just need to use money, but another level you need a special item to do that. And
it changes almost every level.
Yeah.
And I don't know what these things mean. When I see a name of something in the environment, I never think, oh, that's what I need to upgrade shield attachments from level 4 to level 5. Like it is complete nonsense. Terrible, terrible economy design.
Well, this kind of brings up a point that like, I agree the menus aren't great, but when I think about it, I'm almost like, is it just that I'm confused about like all the RPG elements of this game? Like I feel like, and I may have had the same complaint about the 2018 game. I don't
sure,
really
100%. It's almost the same thing.
But yeah, like it's just, there's so many different things you can upgrade. And you know, I definitely hit this early on in the game where I was getting XP and I would go into the menu, and some of the things, like if you pick something up that can be upgraded, it'll highlight. So you're like, oh, okay, there's something to do here. But I was like carrying tons of XP for a while, and it never highlighted that, hey, you could spend this on skills. So I was not upgrading my skills. Like just things like that are a problem, I think.
I mean, if anything, the XP upgrading is the one that is somewhat elegant in the way that XP is used for any skills across any weapon, and also for upgrading runic attacks and a few other things you'll come across later, which I actually like. I did not use a lot of the different attacks in the first game, and this game added an incentive system or like quests of tiers of using moves in your skill tree to incentivize using them, and that is a huge improvement. Like I actually seek out different skills and make sure I'm using them correctly, and it's improved my enjoyment of the combat system tremendously. So I think that is is making me appreciate even the first game more, where I just kind of use the same attacks over and over again. I have reasons not to do that in this game. And the double, have you gotten to the double hit shield bash yet? That's also a really nice addition.
No, but yeah, I remember that was a problem with the first game. I only used a few attacks, and I did see in the menus that they had this in this new one. I still haven't used it, but I guess I should start using it because, yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem too with all the RPG stuff is like you're acquiring new skills, you're getting runic attacks, you're getting new handles for your weapons, all these things. And then you forget what you have and you kind of just end up with like a couple different things that you go to all the time in combat. And sometimes that makes fights harder than they need to be. Like I'm still forgetting to parry half the time. So, I mean, I don't know. Some of it's on me, I'm sure, but like, it's just a lot. And I think they have tried to kind of ramp this stuff, like sort of ease you in a little better in this one. Like you don't start getting like the runic attacks for a while. You don't like all these different things. You kind of, there's a couple hours before you start really unlocking all of the RPG elements in the game, which maybe is a good thing, but I still think overall, I wish some of it was a little clearer.
Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm starting to lean a little negative, and I want to be really clear. These are like nitpick things for saying this isn't a perfect game, but it's close to a perfect sequel. Very close to a perfect sequel for what I like. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And think of ways to create variety and pacing that do not reinvent the game. With Forbidden West, it was throwing new mechanics and ideas at me constantly in the first hour of that game. And like to the point where it was a detriment to the previous mechanics. And it was like they had lost or forgotten what we loved or what I loved about the first game. So I appreciate their take on sequels. It might be my favorite ever. It's still a little early to say. But, I mean, just to be completely upfront, this, unless something drastically goes wrong in the second half of this game, this will be my game of the year. I am pretty confident.
I mean, I don't know. Definitely...
This is going to unseat Vampire Survivors. You're telling me that straight up. I cannot believe it.
It's close. I mean, I'm going through the walkthroughs, just refreshing my memory of some of the stuff I did. And I'm looking at the boss fights, and they are so good. The boss fights are incredible. Not just in terms of gameplay, but the look, the story elements embedded in the boss fights. Like the boss fights are relative to the story and the characters, and there's reveals after boss fights. There's one you've already done where you fight a boss, and then that's an amazing reveal post boss fight. So there are truly unique bosses, and there's lots of them. It's in a lot of the trailers, like this alligator type creature. I think it's called the Dreki. I thought that was good. I'd fight that all the time. I fought it once and I'm like, I want to fight that again. Let me fight more of these. And this game, like that's such a great design move to be like, yeah, we have so many enemies. We want you to miss certain ones. And then when we throw them in again, it's going to be a relief. We're like, oh, nice. I get to fight this again. That's Nintendo level of using power-ups and small gameplay ideas where they don't overuse them. You're excited when you get to encounter them again. And I can't wait to encounter enemies that I haven't seen in 5 hours, rather than games where I'm just like doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree on just pacing in general. Like I do not, so far I have not felt any sort of boredom or repetition, even though, as we've said, like it is kind of the same game as like on a kind of underlying level, like, a lot of the same game mechanics are there. But yeah, just story and just the amount of, like we're saying, the different puzzle stuff you go from like a puzzle sequence to like, you know, a boss fight to enemy encounter to story, like, and it just jumps back and forth so well that you're kind of always pushing forward and wanting to keep playing. So, I mean, yeah, there haven't been a lot of AAA games that have really grabbed me this year. Certainly there's some I haven't even played, so maybe I'm missing out on some great ones, but this one has gotten me for sure.
And I know that people love the story of these games. I think it's okay. Like, I'm just not a story person in video games, but the performances, the motion capture performances are probably the best. I mean, it might be better than Naughty Dog level for me. Just I actually appreciate the nuance of the performance a bit more than I do in the more recent Naughty Dog games, and in particular, without spoiling characters, just Christopher Judge, who plays Kratos. I don't think he gets mentioned enough, and I think, if I recall correctly, they delayed the release of this game because he had hurt his back or couldn't do some of the performance scenes. So that was, I don't know if that's exactly the only reason for delaying the game, but that's one of the things they had said, and it is worth delaying the game for him. Like, I could not imagine really anyone else's Kratos. He's so good. And Layla Deleon Hayes, I don't think you've gotten to her character yet. She's awesome. And I'm trying to... Yusman Ali, I think, is the other character that is... I think that's the character I'm thinking of, is really good. So... and just the returning characters, Brock, Sindri, still great. Mimir's awesome. Like, I love every character in this game. Freya is awesome.
Yeah, I like all the characters. I agree that Kratos, I mean, and I think we talked about this with the last game at some point, but it's just the idea that, you know, this character started out as just this very macho, aggressive, stereotypical video game hero. And now he's so interesting. Like, he's got so much more depth than he had before. And I find, you know, you're talking about like the motion capture and stuff, Frank, but like he's a man of few words. So I think you get a lot more sometimes out of just facial expressions and things than what he actually says. So I think that all comes through in this game.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure so far. An absolute pleasure. I was expecting to like be after Forbidden West too much. I was tempering my expectations to some degree. So I just love the level. It reminds me of Dragon Age. I remember playing Dragon Age Inquisition. Every time I would go to a new place, there was some visual idea I've never seen in a video game before, a color palette or combination of visual ideas that felt new but familiar. Like, I'm looking at one area now that's a take on stalactites, stalagmites, and natural forming type of stuff, and like it combines it in an extremely new and interesting way. There's new visual ideas everywhere in this game, and you know, when the gameplay is similar, I'm looking to visual pacing and emotional pacing at some level to get me through the experience and not get tired of things I've seen before. And this game is always delivering when it comes to that stuff. I can't wait till you get to this one area. There's I put a GIF on the Discord of like just something that represents when this event happened in the game. It's a power a side character uses. I was like, this is the greatest. Visually, I absolutely was losing my mind.
Cool.
Puzzles are pretty good, including the takes on the urn chests and a few other things. And environmental puzzles, each area has a new idea. And the reflection one, there's a reflection using the axe in a realm that's quite good. And really enough variety, and always switching up the puzzle structure in each realm has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I thought they cleaned up a bit the symbols to kind of help you know like where you can climb and all that kind of stuff as well. Like, I mean, it was there in the first game and it worked, but I just think they improved
Yeah,
it
the
a bit.
telegraphs they have telegraphs at the floor level. So you can latch onto things, so it's faster to climb, or you can do it directly. And you also know you don't have to look up to see where they are, because even at the bottom, it tells you this is an ascendable area in some form. And I can't help but think of Forbidden West again in two ways. Number one, the procedural climbing was tedious and did not work to the level I would expect it to work in a game of this budget, or with a previous game that was that good. And number two, I remember the grapple gun or harpoon gun in Forbidden West, and every time I would shoot it, the animations were long, and it made it more annoying to climb things. Where this, when there's a latch point, it's boom, right up there. There is no delay. It is not impeding you from getting to where you want to go. It's making it faster.
I mean, that's something I was thinking about, like, just in general, like, everything in this game happens very fast. Like, you're never waiting for anything, like, and that's maybe part of where, like, the hint system, maybe they got a little too crazy with it there, but, like, you know, all the NPCs moving and stuff, like, you're never waiting for anyone. Nobody's ever getting in your way. It's just, like, keep going, keep moving, and it's
even
great.
when you're in I can't remember the realm where you're waiting for the doors for loading. I noticed the dwarves and other characters, like, they sprint, like, they go faster than you. If you're holding down run, they're ahead of you.
Yeah.
It's a slightly awkward animation, but I really appreciate that. Like, the game is letting me play at my pace for the most part. Rather than some Naughty Dog games, I always have issues with, and even in the first God of War, like, making you walk really slow to kind of extend the game. And I never find myself doing that in this game. It's like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And we go.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts or
No.
anything we might have missed?
I think we covered it.
Are you guys both playing PS5 versions on PS5? I don't know if we actually
Yes.
confirmed that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
No auto pop.
Oh, two other things that I feel like have improved in this game as well. The cinematic kills with the R3 stick are way better and more varied and more gruesome. And the return to form for QuickTime events. There were some in the 2018 version, but there's been lots of moments, kind of mild cinematics or interactive cinematics that have been really good relating to that stuff. One in a train car, I thought was quite good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So hopefully we'll all play it and get to do a full review at some point in the future.
Yeah, today was the longest I've gone since it came out. I had about 24 hours without touching it, and it sucks. I want to get back to it. All right, so stay tuned. I'm sure I will have beaten it by next week, and a review will be coming in the future. Did anyone play anything else? I just had one question in terms of new releases. None of us have tried Sonic Frontiers yet, although I really want to. I think I'm going to like it. And did anyone pick up, I'm looking at Dwy, Among Us VR?
No. Not that into Among Us. I mean, the kids kind of are occasionally, but I don't know. I don't find it that fun. The whole idea of, like, you know, you can't really talk, like, you can get killed, but you can't talk or say what happened. I don't know. There's just something weird about it that, although I will say, like, I was actually playing not the VR version, but the regular version today with the kids for a little bit. And they've added some classes that kind of are, you know, small improvements, like, you know, like the engineer can use vents as well, which makes things a little more interesting, just stuff like that. I don't know how old those changes are. They've probably been for a while now, but yeah. There was some other VR game that came out recently that I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, I gotta get back under the visor. Oh, I Expect You to Die. They just released it's a free AR game. So it's called I Expect You to Die Home Sweet Home. And the idea is like you're in your living room and you're seeing what's around you in your living room, but things are happening. Spies are attacking you. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm sure it's
like, is that on the Quest then, or just it has to pass through, of course, but I always found the pass through fidelity on the Quest.
Yeah, I fired it up and briefly did 2 minutes of it, and it's weird because you have to spend all this time. You have to actually map out where the walls in your room are and stuff, and any where your couch is and any other objects. So I spent 20 minutes doing that, and then I got to play the game for 2 minutes. But it didn't seem like it was using the pass through. It's just kind of using, I guess, the locations of what you've drawn on the screen. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I'm curious, and it is free, I believe. So
one game that did come out this week that I really want to try, but I don't think I'll really get around to it anytime soon, is Tactics Ogre Reborn, which is a remaster of the original game from 15 years ago or something like that. And I've tried to get into this game before, but these tactics games, same as Final Fantasy Tactics, I find now it's a lot of ask to get into these games. Each battle could take an hour, which is just so much time investment, and if you die, you have to redo the whole thing. So it's a tough ask, I find nowadays to get into one of these games, but I would like to try it because it's so highly renowned. So that doesn't sound right, but
sure.
A lot of people like this game, so that's one game I want to get into.
Is that on Game Pass?
I don't think so.
I would doubt it, but I'm kind of curious about it as well. I feel like people love tactical RPGs, and I don't get them, but this one has an art style that kind of calls to me. I want to like these games, and I feel like this is the one, the gold standard of tactics RPGs to try to get into it. Yeah,
I did play one thing. I don't know if there's any other what we played things going on, but
I don't think so. Go for it.
I just wanted to quickly say I played a little bit of Signalis, which you talked about last week, Frank, and I am absolutely loving the hybrid 2D, 3D, PSX art style that they have going on. I'm loving the vibe of the game. I'm not as far as you. I haven't gotten to any of the shooting parts yet, but I must say I am in love with the vibe of this game. I think it's incredible so far, and I'm super digging it. They have almost this adventure game aspect to it right now. I don't know if that changes later on, but right now, totally digging it. And
I don't love with that is, or I'm not convinced yet, is when it switches to first person for some the actual controls of controlling in first person.
Yes,
I found a little unintuitive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I still like the visual presentation of those moments and kind of how you have to explore, this little mini environment. But yeah, I would agree. It is a little strange.
Missing a transference of skills and visual language you've built up. It just feels really disjoint from everything else. I feel like there might be a way to, or there could have been a way to unify the base gameplay in that a little bit more.
Yeah. The other game I played,
when it comes to exiting, right? When you try to back out of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Go to the edge of the screen, I think, and something like that. That felt a little.
I think you can hit circle to back out as well, but the other game I played was, I think this game just came to PlayStation Plus or something like that, Trials of Mana, which I originally installed because I thought it was local co-op like the Secret of Mana remake game that came out, but it is not. It is just a straight remake of Trials of Mana, but only one player, which is a real shame because this game is actually really fun and the action is really good. So I showed it to my younger son who really enjoyed playing Secret of Mana with me, and he's loving this game. He's into it. So I really wish it was multiplayer because it would be a great game to play.
Bonding was shut down?
I know, it was.
With Phoenix?
So now we're co-playing it where we get to a boss and then he's like, it's going to be too hard, and he hands me the controller and then I proceed to dominate the boss, and then I hand it back to him, and it's all good. He's learning about grinding for money now. He's all into it.
It's a great lesson.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that 3 times speed?
No, it doesn't. No, nothing like that, unfortunately. But it's an action RPG. It's not like a turn-based.
That's true.
Is this the most recent Mana game? Wasn't there another one?
So this is not like an original Mana game. It's a remake of I think it's a PSX one. But this is, I think, the newest one that has been released or remastered, I believe.
Okay.
There was a collection released on the Switch, but that was all the old. Yeah, that was all the old versions of the game.
Okay. I have one little update, I guess. So we talked last week about Ghost Song, and I actually kept playing it, and I was getting really into it, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm past the hump. I'm loving this game, and I was probably like 10 hours into it. Then I hit a boss that was pretty hard, and I discovered this major flaw in the design of the game, which I absolutely hate and probably is going to stop me from playing it, which is that there are save points in the game, and there are some save points have a machine or something where you can upgrade and repair yourself, but not all save points have this. So I'm out exploring. I've got a save point, and I'm kind of close to the boss fight, but I'm dying over and over from the boss fight, and my max HP is going down every time I die because that's how they punish you in this game, or one of the ways they punish you. So now my health is like half of what it should be, and the only way to actually have a shot at beating this boss now is I got to go all the way back to another save point that actually has somewhere where I can repair myself.
No fast travel stuff?
I believe, I should double check this. There is fast travel, but I believe the fast travel is only between the points that have the repair stations. So I'll have to double check that. But yeah, it's just dumb. I don't know why, this cutting down your max HP is just, I don't know if there's other games that do this, but it feels just too frustrating for me.
Sean's out.
I am out.
He's not in love with this game.
I had a shot. I was digging it, but yeah, kind of just like Tunic. I think this is where it ends for me.
Well, it was fun while it lasted, I suppose. I hit the sweet spot. You were never going to finish it anyway. Let's be honest. You
Could have happened. Could have happened.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's show. Who knows what will happen next week? Game Award nominees, I think, come out this week, and there'll be some surprises there. Maybe some big news, and maybe we'll play Sonic Frontiers. Maybe a few other things. But until then, you can find us on youtube.com/GameJunk. Let us know how right we are about God of War, in particular me. Let us know what you're liking or disliking. Join the Discord. The link is on the youtube.com/GameJunk channel. You can find Sean on Twitter at FilmJunk and Andrew at MyAngryCommute and Equilibrium Sys. Thanks for listening or watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.